It's time that we start sticking to our habits and reaching our goals. If you're tired of failing on your habits and resetting the same goals over and over again, then this video is for you. This is part 2 of how to stay consistent to reach your goals. Hey guys, I'm Mel and this is Fit Living Inspired, or FLY. This is my channel where I share everything that I'm learning about how to live our best high vibe lifestyle and do that through fitness of the mind, body, and spirit, and keep reaching new heights. If you want to follow along the journey with me, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. I am starting this YouTube channel with not much experience, so it's a learning process, but I'm excited to get some more videos out there and share with you guys. And if you missed part 1, I will link it right here so you can go back and watch that. That will be the precursor to this part 2, obviously, and then there will be a part 3 also. So jumping right into the next 4 tips on how to stay consistent to reach your goals, here is tip number 5, nix bad habits. Think for a second, what tasks, activities, and habits are you doing that don't really serve you, that are actually acting more like distractions and a waste of your time and energy? These could be things like snacking too often, over-checking your social media, and maybe excessive shopping. Why do we do these things? Because it makes us feel good and fast. Because it's a way to check out, relax, and reward ourselves. And because it spikes our dopamine. But this spike in dopamine can actually act a little bit like a sugar rush. There's a high and then there's a crash. So what bad habits are giving you that unnecessary rush of dopamine? And when we nix unnecessary dopamine spiking activities and habits from our life, that dopamine deprivation can actually leave room for and amp up the potency for experiencing dopamine in more productive and healthy activities. So basically, it saves our dopamine reserves for better things like our habits and reaching our goals. Essentially, this resets our reward pathways, rewiring dopamine from possibly destructive activities to more activities that are growth promoting and essential. And number 6, this is a quick one, replace with better habits. So when we cut out those unnecessary or bad habits, we now not only have more time and energy for these better habits, but we also have more of the dopamine reserved to enjoy those activities more. For example, if you're overchecking your social media or playing too many video games or watching too much TV, you can substitute that for things like meditating, journaling, going for a walk, maybe even meal prepping or food prepping, things that are going to move you in a better direction, things that you want to get done and things that will help you reach your goals. Tip number 7 is random deprivation and stimulation. One easy way to enjoy an activity more and thus stay more consistent with it is to pair it with something that you already like to do. But if you watched part 1 of these videos and you know a little bit more about dopamine, we know that we want to learn to enjoy the efforting, which is the journey of getting to the destination or reward, even if there are no other stimulating and dopamine releasing things going on at the same time. Basically, we don't want to become dependent on adding those other things in to enjoy doing the activity that we need to do, the activity that we're trying to enjoy more of. We can kind of think of it as spreading out our dopamine reserve across a lot of things instead of using it for our sole activity. So here's a little example. This NYU neuroscientist mentioned that without that music or podcast, people aren't really going to enjoy that activity enough to do it regularly. To combat that consistency issue, try exercising without listening to anything and just savor the acknowledgement of the benefit of putting in the effort without needing any extra stimulation. And if we're exercising outside, for example, maybe we find other things to enjoy, like listening to the birds sing or feeling the sun on our skin, hearing our footsteps on the ground, our heartbeat. But we don't have to quit our favorite combinations altogether. We can just have them together less frequently and more sporadically. And when we do that, we heighten the receptors for and perception of dopamine when we do those combinations together. This way we don't build up our tolerance for doing that combo, but instead keep it interesting by changing it up every once in a while. One of my personal favorite examples is my morning meditation. Sometimes I will light incense or light some sage. I'll grab a couple of crystals that I feel called to and maybe pull an oracle card. And sometimes I don't do anything and just do the meditation. And tip number 8, accept the challenge. Remember how dopamine can act like a sugar rush? How we have a baseline and then there's a spike and then there's a crash? Well, the pathway actually works both ways. So when we voluntarily do harder things, our dopamine is lower, we encounter more friction, we can actually drive an upswing in dopamine later on. And this process is called hormesis. I like to call those harder things or that friction challenging yourself. So when we challenge ourselves first, we can raise our dopamine later. So some quick examples of voluntarily doing harder things or challenging ourselves could be cold showers, exercise, maybe if you go camping, like go rough it. Things like going beyond your goal a little bit. Exercise is the easiest example, but doing like 5 more reps beyond your goal or running a little bit beyond your finish line. By stepping into the friction and essentially the unknown, because we're going beyond ourselves, we raise our dopamine and thus we also raise our neuroepinephrine. And this means that it gets us excited. And when our minds get excited, they become more focused and our bodies become more energized. So this is why we want to take advantage and accept the challenge, accept the friction of doing that task for your goal and your habits. All right, guys, those are my 4 tips for part 2. And if you watched part 1 and tried any of the tips in there, I would love to know your feedback and if any of those have helped you out. I know I've been testing out a lot of these for a while and I have definitely seen improvement in myself and just have been enjoying it so much to see my progress. Like, that makes me so happy. And I hope these work for you. And again, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to stay tuned for more. I hope you have a great day and stay fly.